You guys, we spoke to the director of Alien Romulus, Fede Álvarez. I'm such a big fan of your work. They didn't show us very much. They showed me like 15 minutes of Romulus. So I'm itching at the bit to watch more. But I wanted to kick things off by asking you if you could talk to me about making this and your perspective of making something like this as a fan, because I think about Jon Favreau doing Star Wars or James Mangold doing Indiana Jones, and they're coming at it from a different point of view. And what was that like for you?
Well, same idea. I think you make it because you cannot help it, and because you are, as an audience, there's a movie you want to see that no one is making. That's usually the best, motivation to make these films. You just hoping and you wait that one day there will be an alien movie that goes back to those vibes of the original films, but actually bring even a lot of new things that I've never seen before, and a new story that I never heard before. Because this story doesn't sound or looks like any of the original films. It's a complete new story. Characters are completely different. People make connections with other characters, but once you watch it, you will see that it's completely different in many levels. So it's just, I just, as a fan, I was just desperate to see it, and no one was making it. So I was like, let me make it, and they did, and here we are.
Fantastic. And with that in mind, I'm curious about how much of this was something like a Force Awakens, where you had to like balance a certain amount of familiarity with something new as to not alienate, new audiences, as to not make them go, oh, well, this is just for the fanboys of the old one. I mean, how was it striking that balance?
Well, I assume that half of the audience doesn't even know there's other alien movies. That's how you
Because,
should do it.
because,
That's how it
young people these days, I tell you.
They don't. I mean, I learned my lesson with well, but which I mean, it was the right guess that it had with Evil Dead. With Evil Dead, I knew that most likely a lot of people were gonna watch that movie without knowing there was anything before it. That it was there's a new movie in theaters called Evil Dead. Let's go see it. Because I'm a film lover and I'm a cinephile, and I always love film, and I always pay a lot of attention to movies all my life. But as a kid, when I went to see The Blob or The Thing or The Fly, those were all remakes, and they were all made before, some of them like 10
Right.
years, 20 years before. And I didn't know. I didn't care. I was just, for me, it's a new movie. Can't wait to see it. And when I love them that they were meant just for me and no one else. And my dad will go and say like, "Oh, The Blob, there was one with Steve McQueen in the 50s." I don't know. I don't care. As a kid, you don't care about anything that happened, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So that's what I know, and that was true with Evil Dead, and that's what made that movie a hit. And the same here, I think. It's a hope that here as well, there's going to be the fans, but also a new audience that's just going to see it as a completely new film. And oh boy, that they're in for an experience because there's so many ideas here. This is a movie that took 45 years to make, in a way, to be able to have all the ideas that we have in the film. So it has to be made for a new audience. And if you're a fan, you have a great time connecting the things and understanding why they're talking about and this and that. But for the new audience, it shouldn't distract them. It shouldn't feel like they're missing out. I didn't want a character to show up in the middle of the movie that half of the
Right.
theater is like, whoa, and the other half goes like, what am I missing? I don't want that. I don't think that's fair to the new generation.
Okay, so tell me this then. Both Alien and Aliens, I can't pick a favorite, God knows. They're such different movies. And I was wondering, how do you decide which path to take? Because both Ridley Scott and James Cameron, very different directors, and both fantastic in their own right. And yours is set in the middle. So what does that mean?
Well, I think for me, it was kind of some sort of amalgamation of both of them. I thought, if I put one on top of the other and I look through it, what do I see? And that's the result is this film. And I knew it was going to be something that it was going to be completely different. By just combining those two, something was going to be born that was completely different. I do feel like this film in a way is like it's like the rebel child of those two films. Like it looks like his parents, but want to be completely different and wants to rebel against them. So there's a lot of things we do in the movie that is just some sort of rebellion against the two originals, as much as we love them as our parents. You know what I mean? So there is that was kind of the spirit to it. You gotta really, if you want to make it great and you want to make something new and great, you have to rebel a little bit against. As much as you love him, it's like your parents. As much as you love it, you got to rebel against them if you want to be your own thing. So that's what the movie does in a way.
Oh, beautiful. I think I'm all out of time. They said to
Let's
ask
do
my
one
last
more.
question.
Let's do
Oh,
one more.
I can do one
Yeah.
more? Oh, fantastic. Okay. So here's the thing. At least I think so. The Alien movies, at their best and at their scariest, is when we know as little as possible about the thing that's hunting us.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you had to fight the urge, because the thing about sequels, prequels, interquels is that everyone's always like, let's grow out the world, let's, build out the story, let's tell people more.
Yeah.
And did you have to fight that urge, or were you always like, let's strip this thing down and scare the crap out of people?
Well, I think it's pretty stripped down at some levels. Then you have to keep, building and I think there's hopefully it'll be you'll have enough of the classic things and a good share of new as well to get you out of the theater going wow and not going like well I've seen it before. Definitely that's not the feeling we've been having with people that watch it. No one walks in going like yeah I've seen it before. Trust me.
That's a good
Because
reaction. Yeah.
no, definitely. Everybody, it really goes so far, beyond the original films at some point that it really, it doesn't feel like you've seen it before in any level. I think that, but I have to be aware that this time I cannot depend on just the fear element of the creature because a lot of people have seen it before and the mystery of the creature and the life cycle. That was a big part of what makes the first one work is not here. But even on Aliens already, that was not a thing anymore. Aliens had to create a whole adventure in order to keep it entertaining, even if you knew the life cycle and even if you knew the creature. And even about that point, they really overexposed the creature. But obviously, Cameron knew he had to introduce new things. And he
Yeah.
did. He brought the Queen and brought the Hive, and there was a lot of new things. So I think that is a similar spirit here. Like we don't we have to do a lot more to be able to create that level of dread, and there's a lot more it demands a lot more from the story and the storytelling, the characters, and just the map of the story. But that's what I love to do, and movies, my movies is always about that. Don't Breed, we just have a blind guy and three people in a house, which becomes two very fast, and a dog,
Yeah.
and those are the elements. And hopefully I could, that movie keeps you entertained for an hour and a half nonstop. And so, because what I like to create is this like very complex puzzles of storytelling that really doesn't allow for a dull moment in the story. And that's what happens here. But this time with all these beautiful creations that all those movies did in the past. So I really can't wait for you to see it.
Thank you so much, Fede. Before I let you go, let me just tell you this. The life cycle of this creature still scares the crap out of me because obviously it's inside you and
Yeah.
it's this metaphor for cancer and all of these other crazy things about killing you from within. And I still find that absolutely terrifying. Also, from what I've seen, it looks like I had goosebumps. It started at the spaceport and the grit and the dirt and how everything looked lived in. Man, I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to you.
Cheers, man. Cheers. That was Fede Álvarez, the director of Alien Romulus. Check it out on the biggest screen you can find. Let us know what you think once you have. Sound off in the comments. And thank you so much for watching.